Welcome everyone. Can you hear me? Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Thank you for confirming. Happy Sunday, everyone. We'll start in a few minutes. For those of you who've joined so far, put it in the comments, your name and where you're watching from. All right, looks like we got some people joining. Palantir, thank you, Mark, for joining. I really appreciate you joining. California. Simon from Toronto, where Eric Jackson is located. Thank you for joining, man. Palm Beach, Doobie from Palm Beach. Daniel from Ohio. Steve Giles joining on. Thanks for joining, man. Seattle showing up. Go Marliners. Mr. Siong. It's Mr. Siong joining. Thank you for joining too, man. Always great to have you all. Annette from Robert from New York. That's cool. We got people from all over right now. So I'm grateful that you are on the live session here. All right. Well, we got a good amount of people. We can go ahead and get started. Mr. Siong from the Inland Empire in SoCal. Lovely SoCal. Aaron from Australia. Oh my goodness. We got people from Australia going to the live stream as well. That's cool. All right, let's begin, guys. So welcome everyone. Hope you're having a good Sunday. We got Chris joining from the UK. Glad that you're on board, Chris. Thanks for joining, man. But just looking at crypto right now, fear and greed is still at the high fear levels, right? We're at 27 fear. I think a lot of people are like talking about crypto cycles over, things like that. But let's just look, Bitcoin is getting back up. I mean, the last 24 hours percent gain, 1.84%. Looks like it might get above, 110,000. ETH covered, they got above back into the 4,000 range. Solana, earlier it was like at 192. In fact, Solana is going to have some exciting news that's going to be announced tomorrow. So we will see how things go. Welcome everyone. So those are some really hefty plays there, Mark. I really appreciate you sharing. All right, so let's begin. Stock tweets. Trump, he says, says Chinese President Xi Jinping is open to a trade deal. The U.S. will roll back tariffs on goods that cannot be grown, mined, or naturally produced domestically. So this is just showing how things are playing out. And we know that Trump and Xi Jinping are going to meet up very soon, like less than 2 weeks. And I think these are just all negotiation tactics. But overall, things aren't going to be heightened, I don't think. I think things are going to resolve. These are two, big time business people where they're going to, make it be beneficial for both sides of the coin. So I think this is going to be very bullish. And we always hear about Q4, October being a good month for crypto. Yes, we're down so far, but that doesn't mean that next week onward we're going to have continued, bearish momentum. Vivek Sen posts, Reuters just said 2 rate cuts are certain this year. It's coming. I mean, even on Poly Market, the next rate cut in about less than 2 weeks. I mean, that's showing like 100% official rate cut coming. We already got one rate cut that really, pushed the markets up. now that we're getting more increments of rate cuts, this is going to be very bullish for overall markets in crypto. I want to play a video clip of, just Tom Lee. Let's see what he says.
And, I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. In the fourth quarter, seasonally, Bitcoin strong, but now we have the Fed flipping dovish after being essentially hawkish all year. That's a tailwind for Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin gets to 200 to 250,000 by the end of the year. And that aligns with Mark Newton's technical targets. And, I'm still...
So there you have it. What do you think about, Tom Lee's post? Does everyone agree that, Bitcoin has the opportunity to go to 200, 250,000? I mean, that seems a little far stretched, but definitely not impossible, right? It looks like we got more people joining on. Welcome, everyone. Looks like we got Smooth Tunes, a bear, thinking that BMNR is going to go down. I don't think so. I'm going to see some major short squeeze, and all the bears are going to be bag holding, with puts. All right, let's continue. Heisenberg, Tom Lee says Bitcoin will get to 250,000 by end of the year. That's an 8,734% gains within the next 72 days. Can it happen? It's only a matter of time. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. Is it likely? It's unlikely, but doesn't mean that it can't happen. John Bollinger. So, we know Bollinger Bands, technical analysis, whenever price is hitting, the top level Bollinger Bands or even vice versa. John Bollinger is the creator of that technical analysis. He's saying potential W bottoms in Bollinger Band terms in ETH and Solana, but not in Bitcoin. Gonna be time to pay attention soon, I think. Why is that the case? I mean, Cointelegraph also posts that John Bollinger said, gonna be time to pay attention soon, I think. Bitcoin doubled the last time he said this, and he usually doesn't post as much, but whenever he does, I think that's when, we should monitor these things, because he's a full-time, technical analysis guru. So he knows something that he's seeing on the charts. He's a developer of Bollinger Bands. So I think things are going to be very bullish as for what's to come. So, to answer your question, is that a recent clip, Tom Lee? I think it was a while back. It wasn't like a recent clip, but not too long ago. So Mark, Tom Lee has crazy hair. I mean, he has gray hair for his age. I mean, people around that age, it's difficult to have that kind of volume of hair. So Daniel, I sold CleanSpark at $20 per share, made 50K, not sure what to do now. That's tough. Well, good news is you got money on the, you got cash to deploy, right? So it just comes down to how you play this. So Shanice, I think that if it does and ETH hits 12K by end of year, Tom will get more investors for next year as the trust in his thesis will go through the roof. I mean, when you think about this Ethereum network, it's like growing so much with so much more developers and all that. I think Ethereum's gonna, it's gonna go very high. So Simon, will be happy to see if ETH goes to at least 7,500 to 8,000 end of year. That makes more sense. What you think, W? So, I'd love to see how far Ethereum goes. I've been talking about 7,800. Now that we're getting closer towards end of year, we got to be a little more realistic. If it can hit above 5,500, 6,000, well before November, then I think that is very well achievable to get to those ranges. All right, let's look at the data with Bitcoin. So as of right now, Bitcoin's currently down 6% in October. I mean, just look at this. Since 2019 all the way to 2024, October has historically been a great month. And so far, we're down 6%, but that doesn't mean that it's going to remain red. We got like, 11, 12 more days. And, with December, November coming into play, I think things are going to look very bullish. I mean, the last 2 years cycle, we had like some nice favorable gains. 2022, 2021, it was a bad, 2 years, along with 2019, 2018. But let's just see, because, we've had a nice several years of the bull cycle already. So let's just see how Q4 plays out before things start changing. All right. So Tom Lee, he posted, MSTR is a granny shot. The most important orange dot is always the next. I mean, just look at this. MSTR continuing to buy. Yes, the price is frustrating with MSTR. It's like, wait, what's going on? Price continues to go down. Can we just start seeing it climb up already? So, it's only a matter of time. Yes, we can see more downside, but I do think that eventually we'll see the price surge for strategy as well as Bitcoin goes up. Let's take a look at this post. The long investor, ETH has tested the wedge top line for the last 3 weeks and has battled hard to hold support. As long as this support level is held, it is upwards from here. 10 days max left to hold, I believe. So, what are we seeing? Soon enough, we may very well see, Ethereum start climbing up to the upside. So, the last 3 weeks, we've been just seeing descending, price, lots of, volatility with crypto stocks as well. But I do think that we're going to start seeing a reversal to the upside. We're also seeing that already. I mean, yes, it's on the weekend, but this is looking very good. Seeing Ethereum above 4,000, Solana getting close to 190, Bitcoin close to 110. This is looking more bullish than what we anticipated. Mr. Crypto, Ethereum is about to enter the distribution phase. Almost nobody will see it coming. I remain bullish on ETH. Let's just take a look at this image. I mean, you have accumulation. This is accumulation in the orange. And then you have that manipulation where, whales can just get in much cheaper. That's what happened. That's what caused that price to drop down. Whales want to buy at a much lower price. And then now we're going to see the wick-off ascending leg in the distribution phase where we will start seeing it climb up. Alex Clay posts about Solana. He's saying, I don't think 658 days of reaccumulating has gone for nothing. Solana will repeat the BNB scenario. Breakout is programmed. Binance has been doing very well, BNB. I mean, it's been accumulating and then boom, it ran up. Solana accumulating and boom, it's going to run up. Same trajectory. We know Solana is, growing as well, similar to like Ethereum. So there's a use case there. And for those reasons, we're going to see Solana take off as well. Crypto Klepto posts, Mara holds over 53,000 Bitcoins on the balance sheet. So if it goes up by, let's say, $1,000 Bitcoin price, that's $53 million in profit. Let's say Bitcoin goes 100,000 increase. That's $5.32 billion in profit. We talk about Bitcoin, eventually it'll get to $1 million per coin. Put that into perspective, how much profit that would be for every single Bitcoin that Mara holds. And, Mara's becoming a Bitcoin bank. Yes, technicals, price action right now. People are like, why isn't that Mara's price action is breaking out? They're lagging definitely, but that doesn't mean that the price will continue to lag. Professor Heiss has been posting about Mara as well. He's saying, working inside a 2-year long consolidation, weekly break above $24 opens room for a push to $30, then $40. Long consolidation breaks mixed millionaires. So we see this pattern of, rejection on the resistance level, downward slope. We see this cup and handle formation playing out on the long term. But I do think that we're going to see a breakout from that descending channel, and Mara can really start running up quickly. All right, let's take a look at the chat. Chris King, I am becoming convinced CleanSpark follows Iron. Yeah, I mean, Iron has been doing very well. I mean, getting up to $70, that's bullish. Mark Sana is Eric Jackson pick from Lady Week. Sana, yeah, I think I heard about that as well. Shaunis, ETH up 4.7% since Friday market close. So should see a nice 7-8% pop for BMNR tomorrow, right? Yeah, yeah. We got 1.35 MNAV times 4.7 pop. That's 6.345%. I like that multiplier effect. Yes, indeed. Mr. Siong, I think CleanSpark still has a 2x up from here and would add on dips, but it's already a big percentage of my portfolio. Was adding heavily when it dipped to the single digit last few months. That's how you win. Buy during the accumulation phase. So good job there, Mr. Siong. Chris King, I think CleanSpark has more up than 2x in 2026. Simon, last Friday at the end of the market, Jane Street bought 29 million open stock. Is something going on which we don't know? I mean, Open Door, we'll cover the technical analysis as well. Open Door right now, a lot of people are like finding other plays, while people who believe in the use case, they're adding more shares to Open Door, right? This is good because it's building a base, and it's building a base for 5 weeks. Good news is it didn't just go up to like double digits and then just go, in reverse like a falling knife. It's been building a base. So Open Door looks very promising with where we are right now. So Mark, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Like, share, subscribe. Yep, share it with everyone. I would really appreciate that. All right, so Simon, you're welcome, man. All right, let's take a look at a post from Nick. So no major changes since last week, or did we? Still showing 3 blue diamonds and strong flow on CleanSpark. Feels like a lot is happening behind closed doors with CEO Matthew Schultz. Time is running out before this one takes off. Chart looks clean, and institutional ownership is top tier with BlackRock and Vanguard among the biggest holders. So, with this indicator that he's using, anytime when you have blue diamonds, that's representing, bullish upside potential for a stock. And CleanSpark, it got up to like $23. It retraced down. But let's see how next week plays out. I think miners are going to do well, especially with Bitcoin prices going up to the upside. D-Trades post is CleanSpark about to test that golden line support, which is somewhere around that $18 range. We'll add more there. I see CleanSpark hitting $50 in 3 months. That's very bullish. Very, very bullish with CleanSpark, We got that retracement, but that's actually a good thing. We'll cover, why it's a good thing to see the stock retrace, and I'll tell you why on the technicals. Time Traveler Carlson Trades posts Riot looks bullish. Let me show you why this looks bullish. In fact, I had a buddy who told me he got into Riot about he hasn't been in Riot for like 6 months, but he recently just got in. Why did he get in? Well, he started seeing patterns with whales buying into Riot Platforms. So you look here, institutional volume roll up, 4 million shares of Riot institutional just increase. When you look at options, look at this. I mean, 1017 expiration. Strike price, 1 million premium. So that just shows that there's a lot more activity going on with 4 million call buys, net option premium, 3 million. Large institutions been just ramping up on the amount of, purchases. That also includes like other stocks as well, but that just looks very bullish for a company like Riot Platforms. Hitoshi also posts about Riot. He's saying very underrated chart. I think it goes to $32 within the next 3 weeks. Similar pattern we've seen with the other miners. Heavy resistance for many years now. It just broke out of that descending resistance, and now it's sunshine and rainbows. I think we could very well start seeing it climb up to test all these new boss fib levels. All right, so let's shift over to the TA analysis. All right, so thank you, Steve. I'm glad that you found that response valuable, and we'll cover Open Door as well. First off, I will go through technical analysis of Bitcoin, but I like how Shaunis pointed it out. With BMNR 1.35 MNAV, 4.7%, so that should be like a 6% gain on BMNR. So that looks bullish. So let's take a look at Bitcoin. So the last bull momentum, which I'm referring to as red candle, when you see a red candle, that's when you see upside. I mean, it had a red candle at around 112. It blasted off to 126,000. Since then, I mean, we had a retest below the 0.236 Fibonacci, but now we've retested the 0.38 at 109. So question is, are we going to get back to the 0.618 fib level? I don't think we have that much resistance there. I mean, we've tested that back in July, back in August, back in October. So all different quarters we've got above the 0.618 fib. I'm more so interested in the 1.618 fib levels. Can we start seeing Bitcoin start roaring and climbing up to the 1.618? During October, November of last year, we saw Bitcoin go from like 50, 60,000 all the way up to like 90K to 100K. It really did like a 1x. So can we see, what Tom Lee is talking about, Bitcoin going to like 200,000, 250? If that's the case, we're going to break above the 2.618 fib levels. 3.618 fib levels is what Tom Lee is talking about there. So it's only a matter of time. We will see how things play out, but I think things are looking very favorable. We're going to see that, that momentum candle switch. If I switch it to the hour, we're already seeing the momentum candle kicking the gears here. You see that? You got that momentum candle kicking in on Sunday. So that's definitely a good thing. Again, this is like hourly candle, so things can change, but it's looking much better than where we were before. Switch over to Ethereum. All right, so what are we seeing on the charts with Ethereum? So let's take a look. So Ethereum right now, we just got that momentum candle turn on. That's definitely bullish. I didn't see that earlier. This is on the daily. So Ethereum obviously is doing very well. We got the test at below the the 0.5 fib. We just had it reverse from the 0.618 fibs. It looks like it wants to get above the 0.786 fib levels. We had support there, back in August. We had it break below that August 10th about a week ago. So I definitely do think that we can get back to the 4,300. And once we get to those levels, challenging that prior retest back in August when we got close to $5,000. But looking at this momentum candle, better expect to see momentum to the upside. So the digital asset treasury companies for Ethereum right now looks very bullish. Also, look at the technicals. Had a moment for RSI to cool off a bit. So this is looking very good for the next leg up for Ethereum as it starts gapping up in price. And Simon, you do have a point, right? We got the rate cuts coming, but if a rate cut big one, then everything will be bullish. Yeah, if it's above if it's like a 0.5 rate cut or even more, that's going to be very bullish. Even if it's a 0.25% rate cut, I think people will take it and it'll still remain bullish. But to your point, yes, it'll be a significant run up if we get anything above, like a 0.5 or above. Okay, I'm going to pull up. All right, let's take a look. Next up, Solana. So Solana obviously is going to announce something tomorrow. It may be ETF approval for Solana. So that might be something that's going to be very interesting for those who are looking for alternative plays. In addition to Bitcoin and Ethereum, Solana just might be one of those, coins that will perform very well, similar to like Binance. We're seeing Binance do very well. Let's take a look at this. We got a bearish candle. We got cold ice, candles established, but I definitely do think that we're going to start seeing a red candle form very soon here on the daily. On the hourly, I guarantee you there's probably a red candle already established, especially with that run up from 175 up. So a red candle is going to be forming, and then we're going to start seeing it bounce back up. But you never know. I mean, Solana is not just sitting in this accumulation phase for so long without market makers sending up the price. Who knows? It may very well break above 315, get to 414, break above 513. Things can just go full throttle with Solana from here on out. So definitely like the use case there as well. All right, so I'm going to pull up Mara's charts, cover a few miners before we talk about other stocks. Let's see what we're looking at on the technicals of Mara. So I really like where Mara sits right now. Yes, it was ugly last week. I mean, we had the price go from like $19 and then it went up to $23. And then last week it went $23, went all the way down to like $18.92. In fact, retested the 0.618 fib. And it's kind of like, wait, why is it that it's retesting that? I don't think it's going to go much lower, especially with seeing, Bitcoin price action so far during the weekend. I think we're going to open up. We're going to see some nice gains with crypto stocks. Bitcoin, Ethereum is going to be going up, and earnings reports going to be coming up soon as well. And let's say Bitcoin price goes up, to 120, 130. I think it's going to be very favorable for the big three HODL miners. So when it comes to the rest of October, November, I'm really anticipating that we're going to see this cup and handle formation play out. I'm really seeing Mara, it's going to definitely break above the 1.618, above $25. But I definitely do see this quarter, we can get somewhere around the range of 2.618 fib to the 3.618 fib, somewhere around the, 30s and $40 range. But, we've already seen, how history played out where Mara went from like $3 to like $80 at one point. So anything is going to be possible with a company like Mara, where it's been suppressed for so long now. Mr. Seong, thank you, man, for all that you do. I appreciate the generosity. Thank you, man. I do it because of the passion, what I enjoy searching and what I enjoy sharing back to the community. But just wanted to say thank you, man. I really appreciate you like sticking through this for many, many months now, just with miners and crypto and being a great support person. So thank you. All right, we're going to cover CleanSpark next. That's next on the list. Let me just pull that up on the charts. One moment. All right. The fib levels kind of switched, but all right. So then all right. So let's go through CleanSpark. So we talked about the retracement, right? Why is it a good thing? Let's say if you're a long investor, you believe in the use case, let's take a look. CleanSpark. So just got three indicators on. We got volume, we got relative strength, we got Fibonacci, and we got the RYC bullish momentum indicator. So actually 4 indicators turned on right now. So we saw, CleanSpark hitting, $23. It reached the fib level 1. And then what happened? It got rejected there. Yes, that was around last Friday when we got the tariff news. So everything went red. And then last week we saw continuous movement to the downside. Now, while it is possible for CleanSpark to even retest the 0.618 fib level, 1778, it's going to be interesting to see how miners play tomorrow. I think we're going to see a green week possibly, especially with earnings coming up with miners. Bitcoin is beginning to show some strength, which is what we are hoping to see. But let's take a look. Relative strength, it was in the overbought territory. So the moment it got up to 24 from like a low point of $9, it just needs a moment to cool off a bit. So I think with this recent retracement, gives CleanSpark the opportunity to start building a base. Hopefully we don't get any lower than 1778. Who knows? Come tomorrow, we may see it bounce above, $20, build a base above 0.78 fib, or who knows? We might see a V shape. But this gives it opportunity for the relative strength to reset for the next leg up, and things goes through like ebbs and flows. So like, let me just, if I were to do Elliott wave, let's just see how it'll look. You got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. How does that look? I mean, yeah, these are squiggly lines and all that, but generally that's how things really work. I mean, it doesn't go one straight shot, but you have it go up, retracement, goes up, retracement, goes up, and that's how things work, with stocks. Things don't just go up, in one straight shot. So just keep gaming. Thanks for the comment, man. JG joining on board. I was wondering where you were, but you're always joining. So thank you, JG. Mara's ready to rock and roll. I believe so as well. Mara will get the most love when Bitcoin skyrockets due to their large, Bitcoin holding. I believe so as well. I'm just thinking because Mara's just been held down for so long, and like you got other stocks, especially the small cap miners, doing so well. That doesn't mean that the big whales can't eat. The big whales like Mara, Riot, CleanSpark. So this is what I think is going to play out. We may very well see CleanSpark start breaking out, but let's see how things play out next week. Are we going to see the wave 5? CleanSpark, if it breaks above 1.41, then the next leg up, $32 at that golden ratio level. So we definitely need to see a red candle turn on, especially with yellow. You don't want to see that because usually the light blue colors start playing out. But with Bitcoin price kind of above 109 right now, hopefully it can hold ground as we head into market opening. Then we'll be talking to see how things are with the miners. All right, we're going to cover Riot Platforms next, and then I'll cover the rest of what's on my list. All right, so I'm pulling up the Riot charts right now. You can just bear with me. Riot Platforms. So yes, we saw the same thing. We saw retracement, but that's a good thing. Why is that the case? Same deal with Mara, with CleanSpark. It was in the overbought territory. So we had a retracement from $24 down to 18. In fact, on Friday, it bounced up, got close to like 3% gain. It's hovering above $20. So it looks like it's trying to build base at 0.78 ratio. And we may very well see it climb. This is when earnings came out. Last earnings report, it had a big dip going from like 14 all the way to like, $10, 11, and then it started climbing up. So where we are right now, we're seeing this nice retracement, but it has opportunity to start climbing back. We've seen Riot hovering in the $20 range for like 3 weeks now, and they announced their earnings, which is going to be on the 30th, I believe. Things are going to look, very solid. Potential opportunity. It may just, climb up to the 1.618 fib level. So, we may very well see a red momentum candle form for Riot as well. So be on the lookout for that. All right. So next up, let's cover strategy. So, strategy, I'm invested in strategy. It's been painful, where you think it's going to go up and it's been just going down. I definitely do think, it might have a nice reversal next week onward. Yes, it can still, retest the prior low of like 240. But because relative strength is like in the oversold territory, anytime when Bitcoin starts running, I think we can very well see, MSTR start climbing up. So I'm thinking, 440 is going to be coming in the several months. We've seen, major retracement on strategy. Last year, MSTR, at one point, it went up 880%, ended the year with like 400% gain. That was very good, but this year has been very different. It's just been bleeding out. The miners have dominated MSTR this year, but that doesn't mean that MSTR won't, climb back on, some gains from its downside here. So definitely undervalued from my perspective, and there's potential for money to be made with the strategy. But I do think, at least minimum end of the year, we'll possibly get above $400 if Bitcoin gets up in price. I'm going to pull up BMNR next. All right, so let me just pull up BMNR. So what are we looking at with BMNR? RSI's, in the equilibrium right now. Yes, we've been seeing huge retracement on BMNR. I mean, going from 65 down to like 49 now. People are wondering, are we going to see it continue to go down? With Bitcoin, Ethereum right now going up, we may very well see BMNR have like a 6% positive week or even more. I mean, it might just shoot up if Ethereum shoots up. The last time we got a momentum candle was like October 2nd. So like 3 weeks already where we haven't had a momentum candle. But I really do think that we're going to have Elliott Wave 5 play out, somewhere around, I was always thinking it's going to be somewhere around like $70, $80 range to the upside. And I'm still firm believer that that's going to happen. Let's just see where it goes towards end of November. Can it get above $70, $80? If so, then, we can build another use case for December. Right now, let's see it break above $70, and then we can, reassess where the price point is. Yeah, Mr. Siong, that's definitely right. Strategy is definitely the super long game if you have that propensity for long term, just stacking right now for the long term game. Oh my goodness, Jim Kim bought 1 million shares of BMNR. That's huge. So Brent, SMCI, I really like SMCI as well. In fact, I was thinking about, weeklies on SMCI last week. Chose the wrong play last week, not SMCI. Chose Oracle, and man, I got hit pretty bad. Ken Nguyen, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Small cap for me, no money to buy Top Dog. All right, so BMNR. So let's hope for a reversal to the upside with BMNR. But I really do think that, we're at that basement low. I mean, not basement low like back in August. Every month we see higher lows where it appreciates about $10 in increments. Wave 2 and wave 4 basement, I mean, that's expected because of the major retracement with Ethereum. But with what Tom Lee is doing, leader of Fundstrat, chairman of BMNR, Wall Street sees the value. Korea loves BMNR. It's like the #1 traded stock. Eventually, BMNR is going to be like the next strategy. And I really do think that, BMNR is going to be one of those companies where they will like do reverse splits because the stock price goes so high. So those are the type of plays you want to, invest in. And that's why we BMNR. Next up, I'm going to pull up SharpLink Gaming. So, why am I bullish with SharpLink Gaming? Well, recent activity hasn't been so bullish with, SBET. It's been downward retracement since that prior run up back in July, but look at this consolidation bull flag playing out here. Is it just going to keep consolidating to the downside? Yes, we can't time it sometimes, but you know what? Textbook play, we will expect a reversal breakout. Relative strength is, in the oversold position. Volume, I'm thinking, is going to pick up, especially with Ethereum price going up. So SBET is definitely a buy low, sell high opportunity. I continue to load up on SBET last week as well. I do believe that, yes, BMNR is a solid company. You got the backing of Tom Lee. But again, everything's relative to price, right? I mean, BMNR stocks $50, SBET 14. Last Friday 13, it climbed back up. But this looks positive from my perspective. We actually had financial institutions rating SBET $50 price target. I think that was from JP Morgan Chase, giving a $50 price target for SBET. So that's very bullish just to hear that as well. All right, so I'm saving the best for last, and that's going to be, I got Open Door. So why am I bullish with Open Door? I really like the use case with Open Door. You got Anthony Pompliano, you got Keith Rabois, returning. We got Eric Wu buying shares. We got internal leaders buying shares of Open Door. And again, Eric Wu, he bought millions of shares at around like $6.70. We're around that same price point. So, same risk as what, Eric Wu is taking on. But just take a look at this. What's going on right now? We see, the price hovering in this, pennant flag, and it's going to be a textbook reversal to the upside. Relative strength has definitely cooled off. And, we've had the price, retrace for like 5 weeks now. It didn't just go in reverse, like just drop down like a falling knife, but it's been, holding quite well around the 0.618 fib levels. And soon enough, we're going to start seeing it retest, the prior resistance 0.78 fib levels. I'm thinking we're going to start climbing up to the golden ratio $16, 1.618 fib levels, heading into November time. I'm thinking that's going to be that price point we're going to get to. So there you have it. That kind of covers all of the stocks I have planned for today. I hope that was, helpful. It looks like Alan has questions about Bitfarms. I like Bitfarms as well. It just had a big retracement. That was what's expected, especially just shooting up one vertical line. Bitfarms, I think people are closely looking at that. It definitely needs to hold above $5. If not, then it could, very well go down even further. But there you have it. So Ronnie, I actually have Ronnie on my my stocks monitoring list as well. But that's amazing seeing that they just collaborated. I've monitored Ronnie for like years now, but I didn't know about that recent update. So thank you for sharing. All right, so let's take a look at, Bitcoin. It's flirting with 109,000. Markets open in about 50 minutes. Let's see how things go. We got Ethereum reclaiming 4,000. Can it push 1,000 up? Get above 5,000 all-time high and then start climbing up even further. Liquidate all those shorts. Solana, $190. I think soon enough we're going to get back above 200, and then we may very well break above 500. I think that's very possible with Solana as well. So thank you all for watching. I'm going to end a little early today. Just a little tired. I had to take a Tylenol early, but I appreciate you all joining. Happy investing, and let's stay strong out there. I know it's been a tough several weeks, including myself. Yeah, I got beat last week, but I'm not gonna, have that hold me down or anything like that. Just got to look at it with a bright opportunity, remain grateful, and yeah, we'll continue to win in this market, guys. All right, well, thank you all. Appreciate you all joining, and have a good rest of your Sunday before Monday. Take care, guys.